Mindsetters, welcome to your Mathslit show on a Thursday. I am Looney and with me is Pete.
Hi everyone, great to be back. It's Thursday, it's quarter to Friday, and time for mathematical literacy.
Yes, guys, so what are we doing for the Mathslit?
Okay, well first of all, you will see that I'm alone in the studio tonight. Okay,
Yes.
so folk, unfortunately, my partner in crime, James, is always with us. And if the camera goes to where he normally is, you will see that there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Okay, which is kind of sad. Because what happened, unfortunately, on Monday, James collapsed at school and he was rushed through to hospital. He spent 2 nights in ICU. They suspected there was something wrong with his heart. The great news is he's out of ICU, he's stabilized, and I'm sure he'll be back with us quite shortly. So hopefully by next term, he's back in the studio and giving me trouble again.
Yes.
So that'll be quite something. What I do need to say, and maybe this is a kind of good thing, maybe you folk out there who are always used to seeing James on the show will want to send in a few messages. They can do that kind of thing there, can't they? So if they can, you guys can send out a few messages, put your name, say what school you come from, and what town that school is in. Then we can read those messages out, which I think will be kind of cool. We've also got a wonderful photograph of him shortly after he came out of ICU, but we've got a problem putting it up at the moment. So after the next ad break, hopefully we'll have that picture up. I think it's going to be on Facebook as well.
Okay.
So those of you who are keen to watch it, you'll see it, absolutely. He had a whole lot of tests done. They checked his heart, his lungs, his stomach. They even sent him for a brain scan. But that took very long because they couldn't find the brain, and so things were delayed, and so we still haven't got those results at all. Okay, what are we doing tonight? Tonight, we are looking at some questions on finance. Now, folk, we're getting you ready for that June exam. And what I want to say right from the outset is this, that I've got some questions up here that we're going to look at and work through. However, I'm quite prepared to stop looking at these questions if you have a question that you need to ask us. So if you do have a question, won't you send it through to Looney, and she'll tell you just now how to do that. And then Looney will speak to me and during the ad break, and then we will try and answer those questions. So there are 2 things to do. Number 1, wish James well, give us your name, the school you're from, and what town that school's in. And then number 2, if you've got a question, please let us know. And we're looking at finance in particular tonight.
All right. Mindsetters, please send us your well wishes for James, and we wish him everything of the best, and we hope he gets well soon. And make sure you hit us up on Facebook, on facebook.com/LearnExtra, or on Twitter @LearnExtra. And if you want some show notes, videos, or the schedule, please go to learn.mindset.co.za and check out our website. It's quite cool, user-friendly, so just go there. You can even use your cell phone and just go check it out for everything you need. And if you want to win yourself this awesome Casio calculator, all you need to do is complete the test yourself questions from the competition entry form, which is on our Facebook page. The link is on our Facebook page. It's written test yourself, and there's a link underneath that. You click on that and you'll stand a chance to win this awesome calculator. Pete.
Right, folk, our challenge question. Let's have a look at it. An article of clothing was charged at 269 Rand and 90 cents, including the 14% VAT. However, the teller had forgotten to take off the advertised 25% off the actual cost, but not including the 14% VAT. How much should the customer have been charged, including VAT, for the clothing? So, folk, that sounds complicated. Let me tell you what that question's actually asking. So, a guy goes off to a shop, all right, and buys some clothing. In fact, let's make this more realistic. A woman goes to a shop and buys some clothing, okay? And she buys this clothing, and it's at a set price. It goes to the teller looks at it, adds the 14% VAT onto it, and the woman goes home. She gets home and says, "Hey, hold on, there was a 25% discount on this clothing article, and I didn't get that 25% discount." So she goes back to the shop and says, "You made a mistake. you should have taken 25% off this article, which they haven't done. So now, what does that mean? That means the teller's got to take that. She can't just take the price of 269 Rand and 90 cents and take off the 25%. Why not? Because that 269.90 included VAT. And so, there's certain things the teller has to do before she can just take off the 25%. And before she can then present the final bill to the person. This, folk, is a tough question. Let's see if you're able to do it. Okay, let's move on. Our first question of the night. Here it is. Consider the following graph, which shows an interest problem. Okay, here's a nice question. So interest, you know, you can get two types of interest. We look at compound interest or we look at simple interest. Simple interest is when I look at the amount that I owe, let's say 10,000 Rand, and I now charge 10% on that amount of money, on the 10,000 Rand. And 10% of 10,000 Rand is going to be 1,000 Rand. So every year I'm charged 1,000 Rand interest on that 10,000. And so by the end of the first year, I'm now owe 11,000 Rand. But my interest I'm charging for the following year is still based on the 10,000 Rand. Okay? So it's interest on the amount I first borrowed. Compound interest, on the other hand, is interest on interest. What do I mean by that? So I borrow 10,000 Rand from the bank, okay, or from a friend, let's say. I owe them 10%. At the end of the first year, I now owe that person 11,000 Rand. My second year of interest is now not based on the amount I originally loaned of 10,000 Rand, but now it's based on the 10,000 plus the 1,000 interest. It's now based on the amount I owe, not on the amount I borrowed. So I now owe 10% on the 11,000, not on the 10,000. So my compound interest is interest on interest on interest on interest. In other words, the amount I owe is going to grow and grow and grow and grow. Whereas simple interest, there's a constant amount of interest I'm paying every single year. Let's have a look at this question now. In this question over here, let's just get a nice color. We're going to go for pink. Why? Because I want to. Consider the following graph which shows an interest problem. Okay, so here is my problem, or rather my graph, which illustrates a problem. It's showing that after 1 year, I owe 5,500 Rand. After 2 years, I owe 6,000. Now this graph doesn't show this, but obviously over here, folk, is the time that I take out the loan. In other words, no years. I haven't had that loan for any amount of years. That's my starting point. So I'm starting at this point right now. Firstly, let's look at that graph. And guys, I always say this, but it's so true. Before you even answer a question in an exam, look at what you're given and try and analyze all that information. Try and take out what you can from that bit of information. And you know, you'll be surprised when you do that. Once the questions come up, you would have thought, sheesh, I've already answered this. Okay, so let's have a look at it. So when I look at this graph, the first thing I notice is I have a straight line. Now guys, if I have a straight line in any graph speaks of a constant. Something is constant. There's a steady increase. If I've got a curved line, then somehow I don't have a constant value. Now, if we go back to interest, what is constant about simple interest? If I look at simple interest, the thing that's always constant is my interest. It's always going up by 500 Rand, okay? Or it's always going up by a set amount every year. Whereas compound interest It's going up maybe 1 year by 500. Maybe the next year the interest is 510. Maybe the next year the interest is 525, whatever the figures may be. But my interest is not staying constant. So now, when I look at this graph, because I see a straight line here, folks, I know I'm dealing with simple interest. What else can I tell from this graph? Well, I can tell that in my first year, where I started with 5,000 Rand, and I'm going to try and draw a straight line here, okay? Here you can see I started with 5,000 Rand. Now, in my first year, I have made 500 Rand. In my second year, I've got an additional 1,000 Rand. So from year 0 to year 1, I've made 500 Rand interest. From year 1 to year 2, I've made another 500 Rand interest. Okay, can you see how that interest is constant? So I know I'm definitely dealing with simple interest. Okay, now that I've looked at it, let's have a look at the question. In each of the following, just write down the question number and the correct corresponding letter. Example, 1.6, you'd put a D, okay? But there is no 1.6. That question's only telling me or showing me how I must answer it. Okay, so 1.1. Which formula should one use when working with this problem? Now they give us 3 formulas. They say formula 1, A is equal to P 1 plus I times N. Now, folks, what is this, hey? This is something called compound interest. Okay? That's my compound interest formula. My next formula, formula 2, A is equal to P 1 plus I times N, and that is my simple interest formula. Formula 3, interest equals P times N times I. That is also simple interest, isn't it? So what's the difference between formula 2 and formula 3? Well, formula 3 is saying, here I'm just calculating the interest. Whereas formula 2 is saying, what is the total balance with that interest? Okay? But they still both simple interest. Now, when we deal with this problem, which formula are we using? 1, 2, 3, or we could use 2 and 3. Well, we know we're dealing with simple interest. We've discussed that quite a bit. So we know it's going to be formula 2 or 3. And both 2 or 3 are simple interest. So I would say you could use formula 2 or you could use formula 3. Let's have a look at our next one. The value of A is what? All right. So we've said we are using our formula. Okay. So here's our simple interest formula. A is equal to P 1 plus I times Z. Now let's just go through what those values mean. We know that A means the amount with the interest. My P value is the amount I'm putting into the bank. My I value is my interest, and my N value is the number of times I calculate that interest. Now guys, here's the great thing. If you get something like that in matric, the chances are the examiner is not only going to tell you the formula, but also tell you what those different letters mean. He will say the A is the total amount in the bank, including the interest. The P is the amount you're investing. The I is the interest rate. And the N is the number of times we're calculating that interest. So now that we know that, here it is. What is the value for A? Folks, the A value is the amount in the bank with my interest. What is it? It's not 5,000, because that would be my P value. Okay? 5,000 is my P value. The final amount is 6,000. So the value for A is going to be 6,000. The value for P, in other words, the amount I'm putting into the bank, and if you look at that, when I start off, I've got 5,000 rand in the bank. And that is my answer for that. The final question, or not quite the final, but my next question is, the interest earned is 500 rand a year, 1,000 a year, 20% a year, or 10% a year. Now, I'm not going to answer that. I'm going to look at my next question, because question 1.4 and question 1.5 are very similar. And a lot of students get a little bit confused between those. If I say to you, how much interest have you earned? Okay, I can say, well, I had 100 rand in the bank. I've now got 150 rand in the bank. I earned 50 rand. If I say to you, what interest rate were you given? Or what was the interest rate that the bank gave you? That now is a figure with a percentage behind it. I earned 5% on my money, or I earned 10% on my money. So when we look at this question, the interest earned, we're talking about money. The interest rate, we're talking about a percentage. Now, the interest earned is how much? So we know it can't be that, because that's percentage. Now, have we earned 500 rand a year, or have we earned 1,000 rand a year? When we look at this, we can see we've earned 500 rand a year. Over 2 years, we earned 1,000. But in 1 year, we earned 500 rand. What is the interest rate? Well, if I earn 500 rand in a year, okay, over 5,000 rand, and we multiply that by 100, I'm going to land up with what? 10%. So my interest rate is 10% a year. Okay, I think it's time for an ad break already. My time, goodness, the time goes quickly, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Okay, I hope we've got some shout outs there. We'll talk about it after the break.
All right, Mindsetters, don't forget to send us all your prayers and all your well wishes for James. And with that said, let's take a very quick break and we'll see you straight after this. Welcome back, Mindsetters, from that break. I'm not going to waste time. Pete, it's all yours.
All right, folk, welcome back. We said before the break that our co-producer, or what do you call him?
Content manager.
The guy that always gives me trouble.
Oh, co-producer. Okay, James.
Yeah. Okay. We said that he was in hospital and that he was in ICU. We're glad to report he's out of ICU. And on your screen, then you should be able to see a picture of him. This was him when he'd shortly come out of ICU. You can see he's not the happiest fella, but yeah, and all those needles and things, yuck, it's ugly, hey? I just want to get rid of that because it's, I can't handle the sight of needles and weird and wonderful things. Okay, so we're thinking of you, and I know messages are pouring in, so if you want to say a hi to him, please do so, and we'll post those up later on, and maybe even read one or two. Please tell us who you are, the school you come from, as well as the town that school is in, so we can really say hi once you send those messages. Okay. Right, folk, we're looking at finance. Remember what we said at the beginning of the show. This is a revision session, and it's there to help you for your June examinations. So if you have a problem with anything to do with finance, and dare I say maybe another subject, we'll see if we got time, but primarily finance, let us know, and I'll be able to answer that for you. Okay, let's have a look at this question over here behind me. Complete the following table. Okay, so here we have a person who has some money. Okay, they've got this money in the bank, and they've got 54 rand 70. I'm going to change some words here, and I'm going to cross out this. Oops, let me get a pen. It's always good to have a pen. Here we go. Amount owing, and let's just say the balance. Okay, so I'm going to say balance, and I'm going to cross that owing out as well, because that's going to cause some confusion. So here, the balance at the beginning of the day. So on day number 1, somebody has 54 rand 70 in their bank account. That's not a lot of money, but nevertheless, at least they got some money in, and at least there's not a minus in front of that 54.7. Leni, do you sometimes have minuses in your bank balance?
No.
Just zero.
Yes.
Okay. That's a good thing. Rather have a zero than a minus.
Yes.
Minus is just not good. It really isn't. So there it is. They balance at the beginning of the day. The person has 54 Rand 70. And then something absolutely wonderful happens. Somebody puts 2,500 Rand into their bank account. So there's 54.70. They add, deposit means to put into the bank. 2,500 Rand. Now how much is in that bank now after that transaction? Now guys, I know you can do this in your head, and I know you don't need a calculator, but I'm going to put this on here because we're going to keep using this figure that's on the calculator. So I have 54 Rand 70. Somebody puts in 2,500 Rand. That is going to leave me with 2,554 Rand and 70 cents. Now, an important concept here, guys. I've said this before, but it is a revision session, so I'm going to say it again. And you know what? I'll say it again later on in the year, and I'll say it again just before you write your final exams. But listen to this. If you look at the calculator, okay, and if the camera goes in onto the screen, you will see that we've got a number 2554.7. Now folks, if I write that down, let's do that, 2554.7. So I'm going to say I've got 2554.7. If you do that in your exam, I'm telling you now, you are going to lose a mark. And why will you lose a mark? And if James was here, he would tell you. He'd probably tell you the wrong thing, and I'd have to correct it. So let me just do it right up. You have to have a zero. In other words, you have to have 2 decimal places. Why must you have 2 decimal places? Because, folk, we're talking with rands and cents. And whenever there's rands and cents, there are 100 cents, 2 decimal places. Don't ever tell your teacher or your examiner or who's ever marking your paper that there's such a thing as 2,554 Rand 0.7. Okay? 70 cents. Now, that's our balance. Now, here's an interesting thing. How much interest is that person earning on that money for the day? So here is the interest. Now look at it. Guys, this is a tiny, tiny little figure. This person is earning 0.021%. Now that sounds like almost nothing, and it actually is almost nothing, but it's per day. So it's not like they're earning 8% a year. This guy's earning 0.021% per day. So now we can calculate that balance. And now you'll understand why I've put this up on the screen. Okay? So that's it. We're going to take that figure. We're going to multiply that figure now by, and what did we say? Let's just shift it this side, by 0, fraction button, and we'll talk about why now, 0.021%. And folks, percent means over 100. Equals. Now, before I even push equals, we know it's going to be a very small amount of money. If I get interest, a whack of interest is my answer, I've done something wrong. Because remember, I'm just calculating interest for a day. So it's not going to be too much, especially on 2,500 odd Rand. So let's go for it. Equals, and there's my answer, 0.536487. I've got to round that. How many places am I going to round it to? 2. Why 2? Remember, 2, not 1. Okay? Why 2? Because 2 decimal places for money. So I've got 0.54, and that's the interest. 54 cents. Sure, all that money and all the bank gives me is 54 cents for that. Now, what is my balance at the end of that day? Well, let's have a look at it. So out comes my calculator again, and I'm going to say, okay, cool. I had 2,554 Rand and 70 cents. To that I'm adding 54 cents equals, and my answer is 2,555 Rand 24 cents. So 2,554 Rand, was it 54? I'm sure it wasn't, I'm sure it was 55. There we go. 55, so let's just rub that out. Here we go. Cool. And 55 Rand and 24 cents. Remember, 2 decimal places, not 1. Okay, 2, not 1, because we're dealing with money. Now, what is my balance at the beginning of the next day? Well, my balance at the beginning of the next day, folk, must be the same as what my balance was at the end of the previous day. Because whatever I ended off with, I'm going to start a new day on. So what is that figure? Here it is. Let's scroll down. It's going to be 2,555 Rand and 24 cents. And then a horrible thing happens, okay? This guy's wife comes along and draws 500 Rand. That's a sexist thing to say. I shouldn't say that, hey? Okay. If that was my account, I would tell you now that wouldn't be my wife, because she would have taken the whole lot, not just 500. Okay, so you got that money, 500 Rand comes out of that account. If I take out 500 Rand, so there's my amount, I'm going to subtract 500. And guys, I know we can do this in our heads, okay? But remember what I always say, when you write exams, hey, you get a little bit nervous. Your stomach does weird and wonderful things to you. Your heart races unbelievably. Your lungs breathe faster than they normally do. Your kidneys are spitting blood out all over the place. You're a nervous wreck. And you tend to make careless mistakes. So to stop that, we use a calculator. Okay, so 205524. So 2055 and 24 cents. Now, how much interest am I going to earn on that money? Now, guys, just doing a bit of practical kind of stuff. I know, look at here. When I had 2,554 Rand, my interest was 54 cents. Now I've got less money in the bank. I know the interest I earn on that money, which is less, has got to be less interest. Okay? If I suddenly now get a whack of interest with with less money in the bank, I've done something wrong. So just understanding those basic little concepts, I'm actually looking at my answer and saying, hey man, does my answer make sense? And if it does make sense, chances are I'm on the right track. Okay, so some time ago, Lunine, you'll find this amusing. Some time ago, I had a question in a paper where people had to work out the diameter of an elephant's brain. Okay, and one person got 3 kilometers. Now, folk, let's just think about this. Okay, a meter is this long. 3,000 meters is 3,000 times this length. If you see an elephant, or any creature, it won't be an elephant, any creature coming to you with a brain 3,000 times the size of this, folk, you run, and you keep running, and you never stop running, okay? Because that is scary stuff.
Yes.
And that just doesn't make sense at all. Same with map questions. I've asked map questions and said to guys, calculate how far it is from Durban to Johannesburg. And people have done calculations and come up with something like 14 kilometers. Now, guys, I travel further than that just to get to the shop. All right? How is it possible for Durban and Joburg to be 14 kilometers apart? Or some people come up with ridiculous answers like, say, 52 million kilometers apart. I mean, we're going around the earth here, okay? So guys, we've got to always ask ourselves, is my answer making sense? Now I know I'm going to get interest, but I know my interest in this question is going to be less than 54 cents. Why? Because I have less than 2,500 Rand in my account. So out comes my calculator and I say, right, that's the amount in my bank. I'm going to multiply it by 0.021%, means over 100, equals, and there's my answer, 43 cents. Remember again, folk, 43 cents, 2 decimal places, not 1, not 3, but 2. So 43 cents, and there it is over there. Cool. Now, let's see how much is in my bank after that second day. I've got 2,055 Rand and 24 cents. To that, I'm going to add my interest of 43 cents, and I land up now with an answer of 2,055 Rand 67 cents. So 2,055.67 cents. That's my balance at the end of day 2. And that's the end of that question. So I'm going to move on to the next one. In the meantime, is there any questions from our viewers?
Let me check for you.
You still checking? Okay, while you check, let me look at our next question. Okay, this is an interesting one, hey? According to the website, and there's a W missing because it should be www, not just www. You can see that I'm not very technologically advanced here. I put a www, not a www. Look at that. Okay, so according to the website www.businessesforsale.co.za, there is a hotel in Port Elizabeth for sale at a price of 4,750,000 Rand. According to the agent, one can make an average monthly profit of 45,000 Rand. Okay. Then they give us the table. And they say with the use of the table below, but the table's actually above. Okay. I don't know what's going on with my producer here. They're getting all kind of table below, table above. It's, oh, sure, let's try. With the use of the table above, determine if someone wanting to buy this hotel could afford the monthly repayments from the profit made from the hotel. On a bond, if the bond was registered for the full amount of 4,750,000, and if the bond was taken at 8% interest over a period of 25 years. Now guys, some years ago this came up in a matric paper, not the exact same question, but a similar sort of one with that kind of table. And remember, in Maths Lit, you've got to know how to read all these weird and wonderful tables. So let's have a look at it. Okay, so the first thing is this. We told that we are taking out a bond. We're taking it out at an interest rate of 8%. Folks, here's 8%. So we know we're going to look at one of these values. And it's for a period of 25 years. And 25 years is here. So we land up with a weird and wonderful figure of 7,72. Now that is what we would call a factor. Okay? And we're going to learn just a little bit how we apply those factors. Now the great thing is this, that if you got this question in an exam, you would actually be given a formula. And your formula would say the following. It would say, to calculate the monthly repayment, we would take the amount that we take the bond for, we would divide it by 1,000, and then multiply it by our factor. Sure. So let me explain. We're taking an amount, we go to the bank, we say, see, seen this hotel, hey? Gotta have it. Just gotta have it. Need the loan. The bank says, sure, you're so good looking, I'm going to give you the loan. Right. And so the loan is for the full amount. How much did we buy this hotel for? 4,750,000. So we're taking 4,750,000. We're going to divide that by 1,000, and then multiply it by our factor. Now, what is our factor? Our factor is 7,72. Okay? So multiply that by 7,72. And then when I do that calculation, I'm actually going to discover how much money I owe on that loan. So let's do that. Out comes our calculator. Let's just, okay. So it's 4,750,000. We're going to divide that by 1,000. We get an answer. We multiply that by 7.72. And we get an answer, and there's our answer. 36,670 Rand. 36,670 Rand. That's how much I have to pay back to the bank every month if I take out the loan for 4,750,000. Got to pay the bank back. How much? We're paying it back 36,670. Have we answered the question? No, we haven't. The question was, determine if someone wanting to buy this hotel could afford the monthly repayments if their profit was 45,000. Hey? Okay. How much was the profit? Let's just see. It was told 45,000 a month. So I make 45,000 a month. My installments are only 36,670. Folk, great news. I can afford that hotel. And on that news, I think we're going to have another little ad break.
Okay, we'll take the questions afterwards.
Let's do that.
All right, cool. Just to read something for James here. This is from Mohomotsi Helen. This is a shout out to James. Hope you get well soon, and I will always keep you in my prayers. May the gracious Lord be with you today and always. Get well soon from Mohomotsi Mfelang from Randfontein High School. Thank you so much for those well wishes. And I see a lot of you have commented. Mindset is on his actual picture as well. Thank you so much for those well wishes. Keep them coming because we're wishing James a speedy recovery. With that said, let's take another short break and I'll see you straight after this. Welcome back, Mindsetters. From the break, a quick congratulations to Peter Mark. You have won yourself a calculator.
What's his name?
Peter Mark. So I don't know which one's the name.
Peter Mark.
Which
tell you what,
one's
that's
the
a
surname?
phenomenal name. I love the name Peter. I think it's kinda
Of course you do.
Okay.
Congratulations, Peter Mark. Cassia calculator is yours.
Great. Guys, just before the ad break, we had a shout out for James, and it came from?
Mohomotsi Mfelang.
Okay, there have been quite a few. We've just selected one from that. And Moko, what we need to say to you, you are from the Randburg area, is it? From
Randfontein High School.
Randfontein, okay. And because you've said such a wonderful call out, I think what we'll do is next term, we're going to invite you into the studio and you can help present with me and with James. And I think that'll be kind of cool. So thanks for your call out. And we'll see you next term. Our producer John, or our big shot John, will get hold of you, find out whereabouts you are, although we know kind of where you are,
yes.
And we'll arrange for you to join us in one of our shows next term. So that's absolutely great. And then you can meet James in person,
yes.
Which I think will be good. He's sounding like a celebrity, isn't he?
Yeah, James, such a big shot. Let it go live. Take
right, let's move on. Let's get him off our screen here because there's needles and weird things. We had a question which someone sent, and there were two or three others, but one I just want to answer. Somebody said, how do you calculate a deposit?
That all somebody right. Is Ola Kumalo.
Who was that?
Ola Kumalo.
Ola
Kumalo.
Okay. So she sent out a question asking us, how do you calculate deposit? Well, I'm going to answer that very quickly, and then we're going to look at our challenge question. So the kind of thing is this. Let's say I buy a car, and it's an old second-hand car, cost 48,000 Rand, okay? Doesn't go too well, doors don't all close, lovely sun, what do you call it, sunscreen, sunroof. Eh?
Sunroof.
That's just because the top rusted away. But nevertheless, there it is. You've got your wonderful car, 48,000 Rand. You go to the car dealership and say, I want that car. And they say, well, you've got to put down a 15% deposit. Well, what that means is this, that all I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate 15% of the value of that car. Let's say 48,000 Rand. So I'm going to take out my calculator and I'm going to say, right, 15%, where's my button there, percent of 48,000 Rand, and I get an answer of 7,200 Rand. So that's the amount that I'm handing over to the bank or to the dealership, 7,200 Rand. The rest of the money I've actually got to come up with. So when I subtract 48,000 from that, I'm going to land up with 48,000, and I'm just doing this very quickly, an amount of 40,800. Okay. So that's the amount I'd have to go to the bank for and say, please, can I have a loan for that amount? I bought a car for 48,000. I've put in 7,200, given it to them already. All I need is 40,800 Rand. Okay. I hope I've answered that question, right? If I haven't, I'm sorry. Okay. Right. Let's have a look at our challenge question, because it's quite a challenge, this question, I must say. It's tough stuff. So an article of clothing was charged at 269 Rand and 90 cents, including the 14% VAT. However, the teller had forgotten to take off their advertised 25% off the actual cost, not including the 14% VAT. Now that's important, guys. If I'm getting a discount on something, they're not giving me the discount on the VAT. They're just giving me the discount on the actual clothing item itself. So let's have a look at this. I've got something, it came to a total of 269 Rand and 90 cents. Now I want to know what was the VAT on that amount. Because before they take the 25% off, they've got to take that 14% off the cost. Okay? Because they can't give me the discount on the VAT. Only on the clothing. So let's find out just what the clothing cost. Do we understand? So let's pretend we're taking that VAT off. How much did that cost before they put the VAT on? Now, folks, you will recall from all our previous sessions that if I'm trying to add VAT to something, and VAT is 14%, value added tax. So 14%, if I'm trying to calculate an amount with VAT, I would say we're going to multiply that amount by 114 over 100. Okay? Because we're finding the 100% of the goods plus another 14%, which gives us 114%. However, if I give you the amount with the VAT, and we are trying to calculate the amount before the VAT, so we're going to take the VAT off, what I'm going to do is this. I'm not going to say, let's find 14% of 269 Rand and 90 cents. I may not do that, and so many matrics do that in the exam. Guys, if there's one thing you've got to learn from this whole hour lesson, you can't take off VAT, okay, or calculate how much VAT was added by just finding 14% of that. You can't do it. So we do something special. We take this 269.90. If we were adding VAT, we'd multiply by 114 over 100. We want to know what was it before the VAT. So we are going to say times 100 over 114. So let's do that. Our clothing cost, oops, can't see the figure there. Let's go 269.90. 269 Rand 90. We're going to multiply it now by 100 over 114. And we're going to land up with an answer of 236 Rand 75. 236 Rand 75 cents. So that's what my clothes cost before they added the VAT. But remember now, I get a discount on that. What is my discount? My discount is 25%. So we're going to say, you know what, we've got to take 25% off that amount of money. Before I can take 25% off, let me find what is 25% of that amount. So we've got that. I'm going to say, right, we've got 236 Rand 75 cents. Remember again, folk, not one decimal place, 2 decimal places. From that, we're subtracting what? 25% of that 236 Rand and 75 cents. Now, out comes my calculator, and let's do it. We're going to say we want 25% of the amount of 236 and 75 cents. And we get an amount of 59 Rand and 19 cents. So I've got 59 Rand 19 cents. And we have saying, or rather we're now going to say 236 Rand 75 minus that 59.90, and then we'll know how much the teller should have charged me for those clothes with the discount. So let's do that. Out comes the calculator again. I'm going to shift the calculator this side now. So we are going to say, clear, there we go, 236 Rand 75 cents. From that, we are subtracting 59 Rand and 19 cents. And we get an answer of 177 Rand 56. 177 Rand 56 cents. That's how much my clothes should have cost me. Sure. So have I finished? And if James were here, he would say, yes, you have. And of course, he'd be wrong. Because we have not finished. Why not? That is what the clothing cost. Now, the tax man comes along and says, hey, even though you've given him 25% discount, I still want my 14%. And the shops are going to say, well, we're not going to pay you 14%, so we'll add it to the price of the clothes. So we've got to add 14% again, but now not on 236 Rand 75, but now on the new value of the goods with the discount. So we say, right, we've got goods to the value of 177 Rand 56 cents. To that, we are going to add 14% of those goods, which is 177 Rand and 56 cents. So 177.56 plus, now here it goes. Out comes the calculator, and we say we've got goods to the value of 177.56. We're going to multiply that now by 14%. And we get an answer of 24 Rand 86 cents. 24 Rand 86 cents. Now we add that to what the price of the goods actually was. So it's 177 Rand 56 cents. To that we're adding 24 Rand and 86 cents. And our final amount then is 202 Rand 42 cents. 202 Rand 46 cents. Not 200, what did they initially charge? 269.90 cents. Okay. Now I know the questions that have been asked there. People are probably saying to themselves, myself, why did he not just take the 269 and subtract 25%? Surely that's the same thing. Remember, folks, it's not the same thing, because you would then be subtracting 25% on the price of the goods as well as the VAT. where you can't do that. Nobody in this country can give you a discount on VAT. It's illegal. They've got to charge you 14%. So what they had to do was take off that 14%, then give you the discount, then add 14% to that. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by it. So we've already had a viewer who's called in and said, let's do this. The initial amount was 269.90, hey? 269 Rand 90 cents. Let's just subtract 25%. Well, if I subtract 25% of that oops, my goodness, this pen's gone all weird and wonderful. I think my hand got in the way. Here we go. Of the 269.90 cents. Okay, so let's just do that on our calculator again. Out comes our calculator. We're shifting it to the side again, and we're saying I want 25% of the 269.90 cents, and we get an answer of 67 Rand 48 cents. Now from that, or from 269.90, we're subtracting, so 269.90, oops, we're now going to subtract 67 Rand and 48 cents equals, and we get an answer of 202.42. 202.42. Guys, can you see that's not the same thing? And I know there's an ever so small slight difference, but guys, the difference is there. You cannot give someone discount on a VAT amount of money. Please remember that. Okay, horrible question that, hey? If an examiner gives that to you in the finals, sure, that means they were in a bad mood when they set your paper. But you would be able to be in a good mood because you'll say, I remember that. That type of question was on TV. I can do it. Any questions or shout-outs?
Yes, this is from Omuhle Mazibane. What if the question is day 1 and day 14? How do I do it?
I know what they're referring to. Hey, let's just go back to that question. I think it was question 2 we were doing on the board. Here we go. Okay. So their question now was this. What happens if it was day 1 and day 14? All right. Well, you know, for this kind of question, that would be kind of hard to answer because a whole lot of transactions would have taken place from day 1 to day 14. But let's just say you were given a question where you were told the balance is, I'm going to make it up here, okay? Let's say day 1, they say the balance is 400 Rand and nothing happens. No transactions happen at all right through, and then we've got day 14, okay, at 400 Rand. All right. Well, guys, we're going to have to calculate the interest for day 1, for day 2, for day 3, for day 4. It's going to take a while, hey? It really is. And in fact, adding on all the time would be like compound interest. So you would then use the compound interest formula. But you know what? That is not in your syllabus to work out daily interest on compound or using compound formulas for daily interest. So don't panic too much about that. That's it from me, folks. Thanks for joining in. We'll see you next term.
All right. Thank you so much, Peter, for the awesome lesson. We wish you all the best mindsetters for your exams. Until we see you again very, very soon, don't forget to watch our revision sessions, though. We love you very much, and we're sending all our love to James as he gets well. Goodbye, guys.
You should have taken 25% off this article, which they haven't done. So now, what does that mean? That means the teller's got to take that. She can't just take the price of 269 Rand and 90 cents and take off the 25%. Why not? because that 269.90 included VAT. And so there's certain things the teller has to do before she can just take off the 25%, and before she can then present the final bill to the person. This, folk, is a tough question. Let's see if you're able to do it. Okay, let's move on. Our first question of the night. Here it is. Consider the following graph, which shows an interest problem. Okay, here's a nice question. So interest, you know, you can get two types of interest. We look at compound interest, or we look at simple interest. Simple interest is when I look at the amount that I owe, let's say 10,000 Rand, and questions if you have a question that you need to ask us. So if you do have a question, won't you send it through to Looney, and she'll tell you just now how to do that. And then Looney will speak to me and during the ad break, and then we will try and answer those questions. So there are two things to do. Number one, wish James well, give us your name, the school you're from, and what town that school's in. And then number two, if you've got a question, please let us know. And we're looking at finance in particular tonight.
All right. Mindsetters, please send us your well wishes for James, and we wish him everything of the best, and we hope he gets well soon. And make sure you hit us up on Facebook, on facebook.com/LearnExtra, or on Twitter @LearnExtra. And if you want some show notes, videos, or the schedule, please go to learn.mindset.co.za and check out our website. It's quite cool, user-friendly, so just go there. You can even use your cell phone and just go check it out for everything you need. And if you want to win yourself this awesome Casio calculator, all you need to do is complete the test yourself questions from the competition entry form, which is on our Facebook page. The link is on our Facebook page. It's written test yourself, and there's a link underneath that. You click on that and you'll stand a chance to win this awesome car.
Out there, you're always used to seeing James on the show, will want to send in a few messages. They can do that kind of thing there, can't they? So if they can, you guys can send out a few messages, put your name, say what school you come from and what town that school is in. Then we can read those messages out, which I think will be kind of cool. We've also got a wonderful photograph of him shortly after he came out of ICU, but we've got a problem putting it up at the moment. So after the next ad break, hopefully we'll have that picture up. I think it's going to be on Facebook as well.
Okay.
So those of you who are keen to watch it, you'll see it, absolutely. He had a whole lot of tests done. They checked his heart, his lungs, his stomach. They even sent him for a brain scan. But that took very long because they couldn't find the brain, and so things were delayed, and so we still haven't got those results at all. Okay, what are we doing tonight? Tonight we are looking at some questions on finance. Now, folk, we're getting you ready for that June exam. And what I want to say right from the outset is this, that I've got some questions up here that we're going to look at and work through. However, I'm quite prepared to stop looking at these questions. Right, folk, our challenge question. Let's have a look at it. An article of clothing was charged at 269 Rand and 90 cents, including the 14% VAT. However, the teller had forgotten to take off the advertised 25% off the actual cost, but not including the 14% VAT. How much should the customer have been charged, including VAT, for the clothing? So, folks, that sounds complicated. Let me tell you what that question's actually asking. So, a guy goes off to a shop, all right, and buys some clothing. In fact, let's make this more realistic. A woman goes to a shop and buys some clothing, okay? And she buys this clothing, and it's at a set price. It goes to the teller looks at it, adds the 14% VAT onto it, and the woman goes home. She gets home and says, "Wait, hold on, there was a 25% discount on this clothing article, and I didn't get that 25% discount." So she goes back to the shop and says, "You made a mistake."
Mindsetters, welcome to your Maths Lit Show on a Thursday. I am Looney, and with me is Pete.
Hi everyone, great to be back. It's Thursday, it's quarter to Friday, and time for mathematical literacy.
Yes, guys, so what are we doing for the Maths
Okay,
Lit
well
guys
first
today?
of all, you will see that I'm alone in the studio tonight. Okay,
Yes.
so folk, unfortunately, my partner in crime, James, is always with us. And if the camera goes to where he normally is, you will see that there's nothing
Yes,
there.
yeah.
Okay, which is kind of sad. Because what happened, unfortunately, on Monday, James collapsed at school and he was rushed through to hospital. He spent 2 nights in ICU. They suspected there was something wrong with his heart. The great news is he's out of ICU, he's stabilized, and I'm sure he'll be back with us quite shortly. So hopefully by next term, he's back in the studio and giving me trouble again.
Yes.
So that'll be quite something. What I do need to say, and maybe this is a kind of good thing, maybe you folk